And here's my contribution to the message. So everybody, this is the free hugs guy. You guys see him all over the place. A few of you have been asking about him, so I thought I'd come over and ask him a couple questions. And mostly, what's with the free hugs?
Well, actually, the free hugs comes from a campaign that was started in 2006. You can view it on YouTube. It was done, I assume, I don't have the full story behind it. There's also a musical band that's also helped to promote it. They're called Sick Puppies. You can also find them online. And pretty much what it is, I think it's to spread a social conscience that, you know, in places like the city, we're drifting apart when we should be getting closer together. There's more of us here, but it seems as though we're drifting apart. And I think the Hugs campaign, the Free Hugs campaign, was to get people to start viewing their neighbors as not a stranger, viewing the people they see in the streets as not strangers, and kind of getting that communal love back to where it should be. Here, like, I've been here 3 weeks, and until the Occupy movement came along, I only met 2 people that I talk to on a regular basis, and now I have 30, 40 of them here. I see them every day, I see them at school and see them on the streets. So I felt it was a really simple way to promote love and unity and togetherness that didn't require a lot of work, and it was something very simple, and everybody loves a hug.
Yes, that is true. Was that some of your motivations for coming down here? And
that was part of the motivation for being here for Occupy.
Yeah.
For me, it's the financial end of it. I've always felt that there was something wrong. As far as I can say, I had a great upbringing. I had a 2-parent home. I had siblings. We weren't rich, but we were by no means poor. And I was always taught, you know, do all the right things, follow the rules, and you'll find success. And at a very early age, I found that wasn't the case at all. And so for the last 14 years, I've been trying to figure out what it is about society that isn't working, or that's been holding me back or fighting against me. And to me, it all comes back to the economic system, the financial system, and the way it's run, the way money's produced, distributed, and things like that. If you or I did what the banks do, we would be thrown in jail for fraud and theft.
Well, they still owe the taxpayers $1.5 trillion.
Oh, they owe us a lot more than that.
Yeah, that's just from the bailouts.
I mean, right now, in the 1990s, the Liberal government passed the Bank Act, and in the Bank Act, under Article 457, Section 4, all private banks, which produce 85% of Canadian currency, they no longer have to hold a reserve, which means they can have nothing in their vaults, but they can create and give out as much money as they want. So when someone goes in for a $10,000 loan, the bank has no money, but it's going to create it and give it to you and then tell you you owe them 12 grand for it. And you know, that's theft, that's fraud.
Yeah.
For anyone else who did that. And I just, you know, how can anybody ever find any sort of success in life when they're enslaved to debt from the very beginning of their existence? It's impossible. Fixing the economic state isn't going to fix all of our problems. There's a lot of social things that need to change as well, like how hard the government tries to promote our individuality. Individuality is very important, but you wouldn't know you were different if you weren't around other people. Our individuality, our sameness is that we're all here together, but we're all different people. We all have different ideas. But if we don't get together and share our opposing views, we're never going to find a solution that works. I mean, you can only have part of the information and you're missing half, and what you do will fail because you don't have it. You don't have that other input. So our individuality shouldn't be pushing us apart. It should be bringing us together. I mean, for me, that was one big thing with getting over personally, on a personal level, was the idea that I felt I might be losing my individuality by going to a more progressive and social sort of togetherness, we're all here together sort of movement. I was afraid to lose my individuality, and it's actually the opposite. I'm discovering more things about me about myself personally on a spiritual level, on a thoughtful level, you know, all that stuff, by being around other people who present different views to me, or something that I thought was an absolute truth, and oh, that person doesn't believe that absolute truth, well, why not? And so I'm learning more about myself by being around lots of people in a community like this than I ever could have done on my own.
Now, what do you see coming out of this?
What do I see coming out of this? I hope to see a new level of human consciousness, because that's what it's going to take. We can change all the laws in the world, we can change our governments, we can change economic systems, but it will not do anything for us as a people unless we all begin to realize certain fundamentals, that we're all here together, we're all born equal, and we should all be treated equal, and we should all have some of the basic necessities of life. And that is going to be, it is very hard to change people's beliefs and ideas. And there's 7-point-some-odd billion individual people that are part of the great community that is the planet Earth. And it's going to take a lot of effort, a lot of work to change that group consciousness that, you know, that like, especially like capitalism, you know, it's always individual, strive for success, da-da-da-da. And if you've been learning that your whole life, it should come as no surprise. We have to be open on our side of things from this movement to understand that for some of us, this change has happened a very long time ago. We realized what was going on. Some people are going to take years before, after this movement is done, before they realize. You just can't change everyone's minds overnight. And for any changes to work, everybody is going to have to come to a certain level of understanding and agreement on what some of the fundamental basic necessities of life are. And that is going to be our biggest challenge, because you can change laws, governments, but if the people aren't on board, if not everybody agrees that this is what we need, then you're going to have dissension, and eventually we're going to end up back to where we are in some form or another.
Did you have anything you wanted to say to people who are kind of on the fence about what's going on and what's happening, and whether or not? Absolutely.
Don't let me make up your mind for you, and don't let the government make up their minds for you, and don't let the media make up your mind. Find out for yourself. Educate yourself. We have the greatest technological advancement that humankind could ever hope for in the internet. It provides such a vast amount of information, but it's a tool, and like any tool, it can be used for good and bad. There's a lot of valid information out there. There's a lot of valid misinformation, invalid misinformation out there, and you have to take the time and research it, find out the information, find out the facts for yourself, and make up your own ideas. That's where your individuality comes into play. Don't come down to Occupy Nova Scotia because you see that all these people are here and they're this big movement. You should come down here like anywhere else if you know what you're fighting for. And if you don't, come down here to get information. But don't come out here to follow the crowd. Don't be a sheep. Learn the things you need to know, not only about our movement, but what's going on in the world around you, how your government works, how your banking system works, how things work around you. Because if you don't do that, then you're in no better position than you were when you even heard about the movement. I mean, we're here to help educate people and to promote our message, which is very general, but it's so broad and complex that it's hard to be specific, which is one of the complaints the movement gets. But the more people that come down here and express themselves, whether positively or negatively towards us, the more that we learn, and the more that we can go back in our groups, we can communicate, and then we can communicate with the rest of the world, and we can change our views. I mean, we're down here because we have we've seen we've learned things, we see how things are, we want change. Now, if one of these politicians came down here, sat down with us, and said, okay, well, this is how we're going to make changes, and this is what we're going to do, and they could convince these people that that was going to work, and, you know, things would actually start to change, who knows? They might all pack up and go home. They might not. But the key is education. Educate yourself. If you're not going to do that, you have no right to complain about the system you live in or the system we're trying to create.
Amen. Amen. All right, thank you.
No problem. Anytime.
We both got fired on a they fill up pretty quick. It feels like a crowd. Sunday night when you get to a town, if you can't look people on the street, if you don't make eye
Exhale! Push the clouds away! Let them go! Get off me, rubber boots! Yeah! Touch your toes! With a straight back! Yeah! And inhale on me up! Exhale! Inhale! Exhale! I love this earth! I love this earth! Shake your butt, everybody! You shake your butt with one leg taut and the other leg bent. It helps to stretch out the hamstrings and the extended legs. So you can like bend and snap and bend and snap and bend and snap and move the clouds!
Yeah,
Allah! Muchas gracias al tío Kitty! Hey, clouds! What did I say?